across to Unathi Batyashe, who is indeed there for us this afternoon. Interestingly, the president talking, Unathi, about the child labour in all its facets being an enemy, and also saying, very importantly, that riches or success cannot be built on the backs of children. Is that the main sentiment, really, that is being expressed this afternoon as the conference is underway?
Good afternoon once again, Flo. Yes, that's absolutely correct. In fact, the president spent some time just talking about, the Bill of Rights, especially as it pertains to children here in South Africa, just calling on the various nations to ensure that we eliminate child labor, once and for all. Now, just going back to the conference, everything is in full swing, of course. Plenary discussions and sessions start officially tomorrow. One of the things that has been lauded again about this particular conference, which is the fifth one, is that it is happening in Africa for the first time. Another first is that Nobel Peace Laureates are also in attendance and have their own session and discussion right here at the conference, which is also a first for the conference. Another first, which also leads me to my next guest, is that for the first time in this conference, they have included the voice of children. So they have invited, through the Department of Social Development as well as Employment and Labour Department, a representative of children, not only for South Africa but also globally. So I'm very pleased to announce that I'm joined now by Thato Mhlungu. She was also the 2019 speaker at the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament. So she joins me now. Thato, thank you so much for your time, and we're both spotting these Child Protection Week ribbons that are very symbolic. So talk to me about how important is it that you are here to this conference, and that it's actually the first time, a children representative is allowed?
Like they have mentioned in the conference, that it's not actually the first time they're having the global conference on elimination on child labor, but the numbers haven't been increasing. Maybe they've been missing on how to, like, the point, because children have never been included. So this is the first time children are included, and I believe that you can never say anything about children without children themselves. So I hope that after this conference, actually there's going to be change, and there's going to be decline in the number of cases that children, the children that experience child labor.
Now, what are your thoughts around child labor? And I mean, as we've heard, some of the statistics during that conference, children as young as 5 years old being meant to work. And of course, some of the reasons we are told is because of poverty and other, socioeconomic concerns, but just your thoughts around it and what you want people to do about it.
My thoughts around child labor, it's very, very sad. Like I mentioned, that I had a close friend, one of my closest friends was actually a victim of child labor, and I got to see the whole thing. And as a child activist, I didn't know where and how to report. So my thoughts around this is that government should actually start investing in children, and we should also look at General Comment number 16 of the United Nations on the Rights and Convention of the Child, which speaks to the public investment in children by the government. So if we invest more in children and issues that they face, that's where actually we'll get to understand children more, and we'll be able to eliminate these issues that children face.
Now, one of the things that you told, the conference organizers is that they have to remember some key important factors when inviting children to such platforms. Can you remind us again what those were?
Yes, as I mentioned, that we are very grateful that children, for the very first time, we are included in the conference, which shows that South Africa is actually one step ahead when it comes to the implementation of Article 12 of the UNCRC, which is the United Conventions on the Rights of the Child. It's a very, very good thing, because we also mentioned that with child participation, there are actually techniques. You can't, for it to be meaningful and active, it needs to be transparent, and the spaces that we invite children in, they need to be child friendly and safe for the children, for them to be able to express themselves in the right way.
Now, you are here in Durban for some time because you've got other, conferences, very important things that you will be discussing around children, including as we lead up to Child Protection Week. Talk to me about what your plans are around that.
My plans is that we want to be included in the panel discussions, whereby we would lend them an ear. Maybe they've been missing the point, like I've said. So we'll provide guidance as children, because we know these issues, because we are the ones that are experiencing these issues. And also we have to do our own. We have on the 19th we have the Children's Forum, whereby we'll do our own site event, whereby we as children will be having critical discussions amongst ourselves, children all over the world, where we're having critical discussions amongst ourselves, finding the problems that we face, the solutions that we face, just to also show that to the government and to the world that actually the fact that we are children and we are young, it doesn't mean that we don't know what we're going through, and it doesn't limit our intelligence as children to know what we are going through and how the government can actually help to solve that.
One of the investments that you were talking about earlier is that, children should not be discussed in several days, but it should actually be a 365-day commitment.
Yes, like you've mentioned, usually what happens, we usually talk about Child Protection Week when it's just Child Protection Week. We talk about Child Protection Week because of what happened, because children were victims to COVID-19, they were affected. So I mentioned the fact that it shouldn't be a we shouldn't care about protecting children only when it's Child Protection Week, but then we should protect children when it's Child Protection Week, when it's during COVID-19, and 365 days. It should be an everyday thing and beyond.
You just mentioned, what happened to you on a personal front, where one of your friends was forced to work at a very young age when she should have been doing something else. One of the speakers also mentioned that he managed to save an 8-year-old child who was, working, and she asked him the question, why did you come so late? What are some of the things that you think government, civil society should be doing when you, for instance, know that your friend is working, but you can't help her?
Like I said, the government needs to invest in children, and these information is available to children. And also, I can't just, as a child, if I see Nomgani that is being abused and that is being forced into child labor, I can't just go and report when I know it's gonna jeopardize my safety and all that. So even in where last panelist reported corner, we need to ensure the whole space is actually child friendly and it is safe for umntana to report any justice enzakala komunye umntana ayibona, as more especially as a child rights activist.
What are you passionate about, especially as children are concerned, especially because you're a young, adult, you're going into that territory very soon. What are your greatest passions?
My greatest passion, I'm very passionate about the protection of children in our country. Once upon a time, I was also a victim of abuse, and I know what it feels like. So that's one thing that sits very close to my heart, and I'm very passionate about that.
All right. Enkosi siyabulela uthetha kakuhle ne? Enkosi. All right, that was Thato Mhlungu. Of course, she was the 2019 Speaker for the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, spoke at this conference. Of course, it was the first time that children were permitted to speak at a conference about children. So, of course, not taking it very lightly, spoke very well about the fact that children have the right to enter these conversations and apply meaningful, thought processes in terms of the policies that are essentially adopted, in conferences such as these, Flo.
Thanks very much, Unathi, at the 5th Global Conference on the elimination of child labour. And, of course, talking there to a child representative who is weighing in on the difficulties that children indeed bear as a result of child labour.